Today I want to talk about something that's completely not political in any way, shape, or form. I could do that, right? Yeah, I could do that. So just go ahead and roll the title and we'll jump right on into it. Now this is not a advice thing. I don't want you to think you can come to me for relationship advice because I'm not the person for that. That is not my forte. But I want to talk about relationships, specifically jumping into them too fast. The reason why this has been fresh on my mind is because there is this acquaintance, kind of a former friend, but we grew apart because that's what everyone does when you get in your late 20s and early 30s. So I was looking at them past month or so on Facebook, and they got a new significant other. And all the brain chemicals are going off. It's like they're on meth, they're all in love, and da-da-da-da, and hearts, and sweet fucking memes, and all this and that, for about a month. And now, they've put that they're engaged. And it's not one of those Facebook engagements, it's a legitimate one with the ring and all. And it's like, they've been together for like a month. And I'm not going to say anything because I'm not a Facebook drama type of person. You know, I just judge silently to myself. And I'll bitch anonymously on the camera without mentioning names. That's the type of piece of shit person I am. Not going to actually call them out. But apparently somebody else did. Because, like, a couple hours later, you see this big, long paragraph about me and so-and-so are totally in love. And if you have a problem with that, you can move yourself on my Facebook and it's my life. And my grandma met my grandpa at the sock hop in 1950, and they got married, and they're still together today. And that's like, all right, great, good for them. Times have changed. Your grandma and your grandpa did not have Snapchat, okay? So the cultural attitude has kind of shifted a bit ever since no-fault divorce has been around. Now, I don't necessarily blame that, but it probably is a contributing factor. And I'm not even saying that in this kind of like Lauren Southern, like the good old days before people got divorced. Like, it's probably a good thing that people that are unhappy get divorced because they're unhappy. Like I said, things have changed. It's not 1950 anymore. There's no reason for anyone below the age of 21 to be getting fucking married. And I know what you're going to say. God, Meds, you're so bitter and such an edgelord. Love is love. How dare you pass judgment on those people? To which I say, I got reasons. This isn't me being bitter. I'm just being as skeptical and logical and rational about it as possible. Okay? Look at the statistics. Look at brain chemistry. There's lots of things you can observe. And obviously, I don't have all that just in my brain. So now I will switch to the audio part of the video where I act like I know what I'm talking about, but I'm probably just going to read something that I typed. So I guess, it's my own words, right? Okay, jump to that. When people fall in love or become infatuated, the brain releases certain chemicals when you're in the presence of your partner that is actually quite similar to the highs one feels when you're doing cocaine or meth. Some of these chemicals include dopamine, norepinephrine, and oxytocin, but the most important chemical that's released is phenylephrine. I don't know if I'm saying that right. This causes people to act somewhat irrational, especially in the beginning stages of the relationship. They suddenly see reality through rose-tinted glasses, downplaying their partner's flaws, are always on their best behavior, and can even become somewhat addicted to your partner's presence. The problem with this is that this phenylephrine chemical isn't released forever. Typically only lasts 3 to 6 months. Some call this the honeymoon phase. When it does wear off, people tend to come down from cloud 9 and are reintroduced into the actual reality around them. This is the point where a lot of people lose interest in their partner or they realize that they aren't really that compatible. Now, if they do stay together, oxytocin starts to be released, which is more of a long-lasting family bonding-like feeling. So because of this reality, I think it can be somewhat irresponsible to jump into a marriage or other permanent arrangements with your partner when you haven't even made it past the honeymoon period. A mature, responsible person would be aware of this and enjoy it while it lasts, but continue to take things slow
and see if there is a good bonding that exists after this high is over before they make any permanent arrangements for the relationship.
Alright, back to the fucking ranting part of the video. The ranting is back. So this is why I'm not a big fan of just jumping into a marriage. I also say cohabitation as well, but if you sign a lease with someone and they turn out to be a total piece of shit, you can always like pack your bags up and go, or maybe just break the lease and it'll fuck your credit up a little bit. But a marriage is a little bit more difficult to undo, especially if you have minor children with the person, and if you acquire community property while being married, then you gotta fight over your assets and shit, and that's no fun. Because the truth is that people do change as time goes on, and people grow apart. It's just the way it is. There's no magic number, but I would say that you should probably be together for at least a year before you think about making any permanent altercations to the relationship. I would say that you should definitely live with the person first, because you don't truly know someone until you live with them. You really, really fucking don't. But it is what it is. I'm not going to back down, and I'm not going to be sorry for my opinion. See, here's the thing, is a lot of people think that being judgmental is always a negative thing. You see a lot of open-minded people who have a live and let live attitude, and I do for the most part when it comes to things that can't be demonstrated as objectively bad. That's another thing that kind of frustrates me, like the type of people who got to jump in and be like, you shouldn't judge people, you know, it doesn't affect you, stop complaining. It's like, yeah, I'm allowed to have opinions on things. You're allowed to say that back. Yeah, that's true. Fine. Fair. But just because something doesn't directly affect me doesn't mean I can't speak about it. It's not like I'm a homophobe or something like that. It's not like I'm slut-shaming anyone. All I'm saying is maybe it's a good idea to take a relationship slow and not jump head first into this permanent, life-changing fucking contract, legal contract. Just take some time. What's the rush? People live into our 70s and 80s, and if you want a big fancy wedding, then take a long time and plan that kind of thing. I personally didn't want a wedding at all. Matter of fact, I used to be one of those edgelords that didn't even believe in marriage. Like, up until about 25, I was all like, it's not the government's business who I'm in a relationship with. The wedding industry is corrupt. It's a component of capitalism. You know, like, that was me. But then as I got older, I was like, holy shit. Well, he's my husband now, but at the time, my boyfriend got into, like, a really bad car wreck. I mean, I would still leave work, but I wouldn't be able to leave work and get paid for it. Like, if my husband broke his foot, I could take sick time and help him out at the house and get paid. If I were to die before my husband, or die young, my Republican Catholic family wouldn't be able to have a Catholic funeral for me because I'm an atheist and I wouldn't want that. My husband knows that. He would be the one to make that decision. I mean, I guess ultimately it doesn't matter because I'm dead, but, you know. There are practical reasons to get married, which I did not consider when I was being an edgelord at 22, trying to buck the status quo because of, like, edginess or something. I grew past that. But if anything, that just shows, that proves my point. You may feel so strong about something at a certain period of time, and then change your mind. I mean, kids, that's another thing. I mean, I'm staunchly child-free and have been so since I was like 16 or 17. But do you know how many people I know, how many friends I had when they were 20, 21, 22, they were like, yeah, meds, I don't want kids either. They cry, they scream, they shit themselves. That's something that I never want. I don't want that. I was like, hell yeah, let's party forever. Now most of them have kids. And they insist that little Preston just makes their life so much better, and they just weren't even alive before they had Preston. You know, whatever. I'm glad you guys are happy. I don't think I'm changing my mind on that one, but that's another thing, and that's a huge deal breaker in a relationship. If you marry someone at 20, and you're like, yeah, we're young spirits, we're going to travel, we're going to save money, I don't want no kids, that's for squares and normies. And then at 27, I'm going to be sexist here, I'm so sorry. The woman starts to get, you know, the baby rabies, and she gets the craving to have a child, and the guy's still like, oh man, I want to go to Europe, bruh. And then she's like, let's have a baby. That's like a huge fucking deal breaker. You can't really have half a kid. That's not something you can compromise on. So that could be another thing. There are endless reasons, in my opinion, why it's good to wait. In my mind, I would say it's ideal to get married somewhere in like the 3 to 5 year range. At that point, I feel pretty confident saying that most people thoroughly know their partners. And I know people have midlife crises later on and their personalities change, and there are, people outside of the realm of normal, or at least my preconceived notion of what normal is. There's going to be people like, the example earlier, the grandma and the grandpa who met at the sock hop in the fucking 50s that do meet and they get married and things work out. There are people who wait and strategically plan everything out for 5 to 10 years, get married after 10 years, and then bam, everything falls apart and they're getting divorced after 2 years of being married but being together for 10 years prior. It sucks. I always just say better safe than sorry. Like, you're not gonna fucking die of waiting. Technically you could die, but then ultimately the more tragic thing in my opinion is, that you died in your early 20s and not so much that you didn't get married. Yeah, so don't rush. Like, seriously, I know I said I wasn't giving advice, but there's really no benefit to rushing besides satisfying those like brain chemicals that I got into earlier. Thoroughly know your partner. You want to know what their tantrums are like. You want to know what they look like sick as fuck on the couch. You want to know all these things before you legally bind yourself to them. Because, even though no-fault divorces are a thing, they still are no walk in the park, and it's so much easier just to break up, pack your shit, and go. So, that's it. It's my non-political video. Still kind of like dealing with social issues, I guess. If you enjoyed this rant, if you thought it was entertaining, I suggest you click the like, the subscribe, and all that. You can Patreon me if you want. You'd be the first one to do it. Come hang out in my Discord if you want to do that too. What am I supposed to say about a bell? Click a bell for the one time a month that I release a video. If you want a bell to ring or something. I don't know. YouTube is always changing. It sucks. I'm not even partnered anymore because I can't fucking have 1,000 subscribers. This is bullshit. I'm done. I'm off. Whatever. It's over.